Good evening and Ramadan Kareem to all of you. So I see there's Abby, Luana, welcome. Sonia, Valentina, Arvin, and there are other people joining in as well. So I'm just going to start with like a soft start probably for till the time others join in, and then we get into the topic. Just as a protocol, it would be great if you keep your microphones on mute, because sometimes there's background noise and it kind of can create a disturbance. If we are a very small group, then maybe it would be okay for us to unmute and ask any questions that you have. However, if we become a very big group, which is beginning to happen as I can see, then in that case, you can use the chat box to communicate with each other. I'd like this to be as interactive as possible. There is no fun in me talking on one side like a monologue and you listening. Today's topic is very close to my heart. It's an amazing and it's a very intriguing modality. So, but also at the same time, it is a completely experiential. So for you to for me to bring it to you at a very academic level to talk about it and just verbally talk about it is sometimes a little challenging. So it will help if you have questions. So yeah, it looks like we are quite a big group. I'm just going to mute you all for the time being. Let me just try the chat box. Here you go. Hi, everyone. I hope you can see your chat box. So if there's any questions, please put it on the chat box. I will be looking at the chat box just in between as we talk, and I will keep answering the questions. At the end of the webinar, we will also have time for question and answers. So I think we are all set to go. You all see me and hear me clearly? Because sometimes in webinars, you're just talking to a screen. Thank you, Valentina. Great. I am also going to share a few slides. So just give me one moment. And now just let me know if you are able to see the slide here that I'm trying to show. All clear. Thank you. Thank you, Luana. Thank you, Valentina. We are all set to go. I will just check. Pia, if you could just keep admitting people, because I am going to start, so I won't be able to see who is in the waiting room, and it still seems like people are still joining. Okay, what happened here? Just give me one moment. Parveen, do you have a question? I see your hand is raised. If you have a question, you can unmute and ask me, or you could share it in the chat box. I don't know where these noises are coming from. Pia, can you please help us mute everyone so that I can focus on the webinar and I'll get started. Okay. Okay, great. Welcome everyone one more time for the ones who've joined us right now. Welcome and thank you for joining me today for a very interesting topic, a topic that's very close to my heart. Heal your past and reshape your future with family constellations. So we are going to be talking about the modality of family constellations. Before we go into the details, is there any of you have experienced this before, or is this something that that is completely new to you at the moment? Is there anyone in the group who has experienced family constellations before? whether it's one-on-one, whether it's in a group settings, or is it that you're completely new to this modality? Linda, you haven't? Okay. I was used to do astral charts myself, interested in hearing more about, okay, yeah, it's different, Valentina, from astral charts. You know, somewhere these modalities all kind of intertwine, but no, it's not astral charts. Komal is new, Valentina, yeah. Okay, great. So I'm just assuming that if not everyone, but at least the majority of you're completely new to this modality. Okay, then it's going to be very interesting. It reminds me of my first time when I was introduced to this as well. Okay. So I know there are a few of you who I know, you're my students or I've worked with you before. And there are quite a few of you who are, I do not know maybe personally. So for those who do not know me, my name is Arpita. I'm a holistic therapist at Illuminations. This is the second phase of my career, as I say, my second innings. I have previously I studied economics, I'm an MBA, and I've worked in the corporate sector for more than 15 years. And then many years before, I came to Illuminations as a client. And I was very new to this line of work, especially mind sciences, holistic healing. But that one interaction, and which was never one session, it went on for many other sessions and studying different modalities. It completely changed my life. And I never planned to quit my corporate career. Actually, I had quite a good place to work. I've been very lucky to have good managers and bosses and good workplace, but it eventually made me rethink and replan my life. And here I am today in front of you. I switched careers. I practice a couple of modalities. I am an integrated clinical hypnotherapist. I'm also a teacher of hypnotherapy. So I teach the same course that I have studied many years back. I work with children a lot. So I do teen counseling, play therapy. I do regression work, transpersonal regression therapy. And because of my background in the corporate sector, I still enjoy doing a lot of work with the corporate. So this, the whole, domain of corporate wellness, which is now on the rise. And last but not the least, I am a family constellation facilitator, and I come and I represent Illuminations today from that angle of being a facilitator of constellations. I had never personally heard about this till doing clinical hypnotherapy. I was introduced to this modality of my fellow students from my group, and I honestly did not understand when she had tried to verbally explain to me what it means. And then I actually ended up trying a session, a workshop, and that was for my daughter. She was 18 months old at that time, and there was a physical issue that we were struggling with. And to my absolute surprise, though I didn't have to bring my daughter for therapy, I didn't have to do any intervention on her, but working through this modality, it completely reversed what was happening. And that was my first introduction into family constellations. So what I have for you today in mind is because most of you, as we are aware that maybe you are completely new to this modality, I will talk a bit about what is family constellations, the most frequently asked questions, how does it work, and how do I know this is something for me? And like someone said, I do astral charts, and is this something that you can integrate with the other modalities that you are already aware of or you're working with? And then, of course, I will leave time for question and answers, because as I said, this modality is 100% experiential modality. And at some point in life, I always recommend at least once we should experience this, at least once. So coming straight to the point, family constellations, what is it? So to begin with, for me to explain this, family constellations is first and foremost, it's an extremely and totally experiential modality. When I say experiential, it works through you. It works in the sense when, even if you're in a workshop or you're doing it one-on-one, it is the experience of what you feel, what you go through during the, when the constellation is being worked out. Now, I will of course give you examples to explain this more. This modality is extremely and only solution focused. When I say solution focused, there are various other modalities that we work with, and each modality is beautiful in its own space. So this is not to say one is better than the other, but in many modalities, you will see we sometimes start with the problem. We are more problem focused, like, okay, I have anger management issues, or I can never attract money. Now, when you come with the same issues, and you may specifically come with the same issues to family constellations as well, but here the idea is not to follow the problem. It's a flip of that. Here we let the solution emerge in the space that we hold, and hence our focus goes towards seeing that unknown and unseen solution which we are unable to see with our conscious mind, or we are unable to work it out in our day-to-day life. And this is not a mind science. All my students of hypnotherapy, and any of you who have done NLP or you've done metaphor therapy, this is not an intervention from the mind perspective. This is an energetic intervention. But when I say energetic intervention, it is also not like an energy science, like a Reiki or a pranic healing. It's a very different and an extremely intriguing kind of an energetic intervention. I will explain all these three elements one by one. How do we do this? How this modality works is we are utilizing, this modality utilizes body sensing. So we sense through our physical body. So it's more than what we are thinking in the mind. We are now going to be more focused when we do this modality on the sensations that we feel in our body when we are representing somebody in the constellation. And with those physical sensations or those emotional sensations come up during the session, we are what are we actually doing is we are tapping into the hidden dynamics of that person. So this person is the client who has come for a resolution, into that individual's one or more of its systems. Family constellations is also known as systemic constellations. When I say system, we mean it is where I belong. So I actually belong to many systems. I belong to the system of my family of origin. I belong to the system of my current family. I belong to the system right now in this webinar, because all of us are holding the space of this webinar. And I can also belong to my community, to my religion, to my country, etc. We are looking at two things. We are looking at an individual, but we are just not looking at an individual from individual's perspective. We are taking a bird's eye view of even the system that this individual belongs. Now, I have a few pointers to explain what is. Linda says, I cannot hear you. There is no sound. Is there anybody else who cannot hear me? Can I just have somebody on the chat, or can you unmute yourself and tell me if I'm talking to myself? Pia, can you check? Can you hear me? Komal says Komal can hear me.
We can hear you. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. Okay. Thanks so much. Linda, just check your audio system, or maybe just log in and log out, and maybe you will be back hearing us. Thank you so much, the rest of you. Okay. So let's get into the depth of what is family constellations. And first and foremost, this is a very, as I said, very unique modality. Why we say unique modality? It is very, very different from probably any other modality that you have either practiced, you have learned, or you have done sessions on, or you have heard of. In the sense, as I explained earlier, we are extremely solution focused. We just don't look at the problem in one person. We look at what is the implication or where this comes from in the system. So the bird's eye view. Solution focused we spoke about. Profound healing at the level of soul. So this modality is also in other language called as the dance of the soul or the movement of the soul. In a constellation, when we put the problem and the representatives start to move, you will notice it is not governed by the conscious mind, because this is such a unique modality, because the client himself or herself does not participate in his or her own constellation. You are like an outsider, and you're just going to give the information about what you want to work on, and you watch others play it out for you. And it is not mind science. So we are not healing those or rewiring files from our subconscious. Of course, your mind gets impacted with it, both your conscious and subconscious, but this is more the movement, the healing, and the journey of the soul, not only for you as an individual, but for probably your ancestors, probably for the bigger systems where we belong. And this is considerably a very new modality. Why I say it is, if you look at psychology, you look at psychoanalysis, even if you look at energy sciences, these modalities have existed for a very, very long time, maybe hundreds, thousands years before. Family constellations has only come into the limelight and was discovered and worked upon, became popular in the 90s, but it was discovered, it was built in the 1970s. So it's fairly very, very young modality, and yet extremely powerful and extremely focused. And as I said, we just don't look at the problem of what I'm facing today. We take a view of a multi-generational impact of what traumas can do, what memories can do, or sometimes when somebody from our bigger system gets excluded, or there are just simple incidents that have happened in the past, and how those incidents, those traumas, and the memories which don't belong to us, which belong to probably our ancestors, probably people we haven't even met, we don't even know their names. It comes from, sometimes it comes from those, and that is what we explore in this modality. Family constellations was developed by Bert Hellinger. He was a German psychotherapist, born in Germany, but during the World War, he was ordained as a priest, and he spent a considerable amount of life in South Africa, where he was a teacher, later a headmaster, and he worked a lot with families. He was also very much privy to the Zulu culture and the Zulu tribe back in those days in South Africa. And he developed this modality, though Bert Hellinger never claimed to have coined the term family constellation or systemic constellations, but he is the father of this modality. And he used his observation over many, many years, working with many, many families. And through these observations, he is the one, and we owe it to him, who has brought to us this beautiful modality. Experiential modality. This is not like other modality where we can just pick up a book, read and understand. And I'll explain to you why, and the experiential part to it. The basic principle on which this works is Bert Hellinger focused on the systems we belong to. Now, I explained what a system was. It could be anything that is bigger than me. A system is something where I belong. So definitely my family is my system. The organization where I work, my workspace is my system. Right now, the webinar, the 18 of us, we are here today. We are a temporary system. We are holding space for each other. And then when the webinar ends, you go back and I go back and we go back to one of our other systems. It could be communities, it could be countries, it could be religion, it could be anything that is bigger than an individual in which we automatically belong. The word constellation, if you it comes from the constellation, we think of the constellation of the stars, which means it's a formation and it's a fixed formation. So, but it depends on the angle from which we are looking at that fixed constellation or the fixed formation of the stars. So in family constellations, we define the system as the energy field that connects us. So imagine the stars in the sky. When we look through the telescope, they are also in their right positions. And though everything is in motion, but the formation of those constellations in the universe is kind of fixed. And who then holds them together? What holds them together equally is an energy field, some kind of an energy field that keeps the sun in its place and the moon in its place and the earth in its place. Similarly, whichever system we belong to, the bigger system, we are all held by, say, an invisible energy field that connects us. So for example, now Zoom is the platform, and through the platform of Zoom, we are now energetically connected to each other, and hence we form a constellation. We form a group. In simple language, it is a group. And this energy field is what connects the members and what holds it together. The most interesting concept in family constellations is what we call as the knowing field, this particular energy field that we are talking about. Dr. Albrecht Marr, he's a doctor, psychoanalyst, and a specialist in psychosomatic diseases. He's the first person, you can research on him, just the name, if you put on Wikipedia, you will have information. He was the first person who coined the term knowing field, which means there is an existing field of knowledge which is permeating through the universe, which is permeating through me, through you, to everyone. And this is what he called as knowing field. Why knowing field? Knowing field means all the information that we need is available to us in this field. All we need to know is to know a technique to tap into it. And if it interests you further, this is what British biologist Rupert Sheldrake, and fascinating articles, fascinating books, he calls this the morphogenetic field. It's one and the same, the field that contains information about everything, what has been in the past, anything that is happening in the present, and anything that will happen in the future. It's the storehouse of information. As a definition, you could call it an energetic field that connects families. So when I say family, just imagine yourself, it connects you to your family, to your ancestors, organizational members, nature, the natural world, and all of humanity. And you can even extend it beyond that. You can extend it beyond the formation of our universe, our own Milky Way, our solar system. And if you see, this field exists in many ways. Like if you go out in the universe, there's constellation there. If you go down to the atom, most minuscule part of our existence, it is also a field which contains the neutron, the proton, and the electron, and they're also rotating. And something again is there that holds these elements together. This field that we talk about, and hence it is extremely experiential, because this is multidimensional. It is not just here and now in the 3D dimension. We can access information across time, across space, across matter, and that's where we say that this is the movement of the soul. It is already known to the soul, and sometimes when we tap into this, it will show the soul's connection to whichever element that is relevant for the constellation. And the most fascinating part of all this, you don't have to be an expert in anything. This is accessible to each one of us. It is not that one person can channel this energy or tap into this information more than the other. If I stand in this field and I tap in something, you will also tap in with equal propensity. It is not that you have to be special, that you have to be trained in any modalities, that you have to be doing something else to tap into it. And the beauty we see is when I do the workshops, when somebody absolutely new comes in who has no idea what's going to happen, vis-a-vis somebody who comes to my workshops every month, it is one and the same for them. The feelings, the sensations, because this field doesn't distinguish. If we can keep ourselves centered, we step into this field and each one of us can channel and tap into the information equally. So this is the field that we use in a room when we are doing the constellation. The constellation energy field will inform me, for example, if as a facilitator, when I'm doing the workshops, this same field will inform the representatives, will inform the client who is sitting and watching what's happening, and also for each one of us who are not participating in the constellation, but we are just observers and we are holding the field together. Each one of us make the field, each one of us is the field, and each one of us can get up and tap into that information that is there relevant for what I have come to work with today. One last piece of theory, if you want to call it. There is actually no theory in constellation, but there are certain elements that will help you understand cognitively how it works. And Bert Hellinger, the genius that he was, he just passed away last year. So I always wanted to go and attend one of his workshops back in Germany, but to my bad luck, COVID hit, and after that there was no traveling, and he just passed away, I think in the beginning of that time or thereafter. But it's still on my agenda one day to go to his institute. It's run by his wife now, Sophie, to be in that space where this beautiful modality was born. So remember I said that Bert used observation. He did not come with any principles or any ways of functioning. His entire way of functioning is to look, to observe and test, to see where to put the problem in the field and just watch. And that is called phenomenology. Phenomenology is just working through observation without anything from the mind. And hence we say this is not a mind science. We have to keep the mind outside the constellation when we are coming into this kind of work. Which means phenomenology can be defined as we are attempting to work assuming I know nothing. So I, as a client, I have a problem, but I know nothing about this problem, how this has come, where this has come from, and why even I am undergoing this. As representatives who work in the constellations, of course, they have no knowing of anything because they don't know the client personally. And even as a facilitator, when I work, I will operate from the sphere that actually even I don't know anything. I'm the last person in the constellation to tap into, to step in. It's a flip of all other modalities that we do. We do not know. We declare, even before we start, that we are working with knowing that we know nothing. And that knowing nothing means no assumptions, no presumptions, no trying to link it to anything. We just go with an complete open canvas. And we study the subjective experience. What is happening in the field? Or what is happening in the family? What is happening in the bigger system? And with that mindset of completely acknowledging that I do not know, I'm operating out of my not knowing zone, we are able to recognize the essential elements, the blocks, the patterns, the reason why somebody is in a conflict, somebody is stuck in life, somebody has a pattern. And we do this, number one, without intention. There is no intention for us when we do constellation as a facilitator to solve it. We are not there to make it happen. We are just there to set it out, and it will automatically happen it will automatically flow. Second, no fear. In phenomenology, we don't get scared of what is constellation going to show. Whatever it shows, we operate with the principle of it is what it is. And we can only from a distance expect it. And then third and most important, there is no space for anyone's perception. Not facilitator's perception of the problem, not even client's perception of the problem. And with that background, that is the maximum amount of theory that I can talk about. I will just check if there are any questions at this juncture. If not, then I will go into the principles on which, the foundations on which family constellation works. As I said, there is no theory, there is no rule book of it. Every case is different. Every constellation that we put into the field is different. However, Bert Hellinger came up with three very, very simple, yet three very important principles on which all the systems, all families, all organizations, all countries, anything that is a group works. These principles are like your laws of physics. For example, gravity. Now, whether I, as an individual, believe in gravity or not, doesn't change gravity. Gravity is still there on Earth. So these principles are exactly like the physical laws that we have in nature or in science, which are just there. And because of these laws, the world functions in a particular way. Now, when I am in sync with these laws, life becomes very effortless, simple. And when I try to go against these physical laws, I can feel some resistance somewhere. This is the same with the principles of constellation. So, for example, let's talk of gravity. There is gravity on Earth, whether I like it or not, whether I believe it or not, but we are all pulled down by a gravitational force. Now, I can use this gravity by, if I have to, for example, carry something from the 5th floor of the building to the ground floor. Now, instead of walking with that weight down the stairs, I can go to my balcony, I can tie a rope and I can just slowly lower it because I don't have to do anything. Gravity is anyways pulling it. I'm using gravity to make my life simple. Now, if I have that same block, which is heavy for me, and now I am going, there is no gravity on Earth and I don't believe in it because gravity is not visible to me. I cannot touch it. I cannot feel it. So I can very easily climb up 10 stories of this building with this block and I will feel no weight. Nothing can stop me. And when I start to walk, of course I can walk and of course I will climb, but the experience of climbing will not be very pleasant. It's same with the principles of family constellations. If we as individuals, we are aligned to those principles, life is easy, life is simple, abundance flows to me, and life is good. Now, for any reason, if I am unaware of these principles, because I cannot touch these principles, you can't, these are intangibles, and I go against them knowingly or unknowingly, or basically I'm not in alignment. I'm not even saying that you're purposefully going against it. We feel that resistance, that pressure. Principle number 1 is each one of us has a need to belong. The moment we are even conceived by our parents and we are in our mother's womb, since that moment we start to belong to a family. There is no choice, like the physical, the laws of the physical sciences. Whether then I'm born and then whether I grew up loving my family or whether I grew up having a very traumatic experience with my family is a subjective experience. Keeping that aside, what still remains is I am a child, and each one of us are children of our families, our family of origin. And then our parents are also children of their families of origin. And then our grandparents are also children of some other family, which means by default, these are all default principles that we necessarily belong. And because we belong, there is always a need, an unconscious or a conscious need for us to belong. When I say belong, belonging does not distinguish between age. Belonging doesn't distinguish whether somebody is dead or alive. So for example, there's a family where there's mom, dad, and 2 children, and we say this is a family of 4. But that's from the outside view, the conscious view. Now, if say probably you know this family and then you come to know that, okay, it's just not the 4 of them, it's mom, dad. And when the mom was pregnant with the first child, maybe she miscarried, maybe there was an abortion, maybe it was a stillborn. And then these 2 children have come. So from the perspective of family constellation, it becomes a family of 5. Mom, dad, these 2 children who are alive, and the unborn child. So people who have died, people who were never born, miscarriages, abortions, stillborns, premature deaths, suicides, murders, does not, these who have been separated from family through this through these events by death, does not get excluded in family constellations. And hence it's very important for us to understand that the first rule means we all belong. And not only do we all belong to a family, we belong equally. Just because someone is dead, somebody didn't make it for whatever reason, doesn't mean that that child doesn't belong. They still belong. They don't, nobody talks about it, or you know, no one wants to say, oh, I had 1 miscarriage, or I had 1 abortion, or you know, I had my mom had an abortion, because it's painful. There is no joy in talking about it. But in that suppressing that pain and not acknowledging that child, we are actually breaking one of the major principles of family constellations. When I finish this slide, I'm going to give you a few examples for you to relate at a very personal, at a very human level, probably. And then comes the second law, or the second principle, which says there is a need for order. Order means hierarchy. And in this context, we are talking of time, chronological hierarchy. So in a family, the grandparents came before, so they are higher up in the authority chain, in the hierarchy. Then comes the parents, and last comes the children. This is the direction in which life has flown to us from our ancestors to our children. And this flow cannot be reversed. So we cannot become our mother's mother or our father's father. And each person in this family tree has a specific position. And no matter, again, what your subjective experience is with your parents, with your grandparents, with anybody who is elder to you, the fact remains that they have come into the system before you, and by the only measure of time, they have a hierarchical position which is higher than me. They have come before me. And following the same tradition, my children come after me. So they are on the next run. Life flows in this direction, so does love. And if we try consciously or unconsciously to step above people who have come before us, we break this chain, which means we break the flow of love, of life, of abundance, of blessings, whatever you want to call it, that automatically flows in this field. And that brings us to the third principle, which is we call as the need for balance. This means in a system, to be in balance, to be effective, to be comforting, to be abundant, it is important to contribute to that system. So if I'm a part of this system, I contribute to you a little bit, and you contribute a little more. And when I see your contribution, then I contribute a little more than you. And this is how we build on each other's strengths, on each other's skills, on what resources we bring into a system. This can go haywire if I stop giving and you stop giving, and I give you even lesser and you give me even lesser. These are the negative spirals that we notice that sometimes we face in life, where I can't receive because nobody is giving me anything, nobody loves me, nobody gives me attention. Typical cases where the need of balance has been broken. Now, that's it. This is all that we keep in mind when we are when we're working in family constellations. Now, if these principles are followed, then life is smooth. It is like, you know, a chandelier which has different tiers, which has different layers, or it's like this baby mobile, you know, on the cot of the babies. There are these baby mobiles that go round and round. Each has a different layer. So imagine a chandelier with different layers. The first layer is the oldest ones, and then there are the grandparents and the parents and then the children. And this chandelier is balanced only when each hole of that chandelier holds a bulb or holds a candle. And now imagine one of these rules get broken. A member of the family is forgotten, an aborted child, a long lost uncle, somebody by death, somebody by anyone who is excluded, which means one part of that chandelier is broken and taken off. Or I know better than you, mom, and I can tell you how to live your life. Another piece is broken because the need for order is broken. Or I withdraw my resources because I feel this chandelier is not giving me what it needs. If any of these rules are broken, ultimately what's going to happen is your chandelier is going to tilt on one side, it's going to not look nice, and it's not going to give you the beautiful effect of the light that you want in your life. And when these rules are broken, unconsciously, the children of the family try to bring back the balance. So, oh, my chandelier is broken. Let me do something, though I'm very small, but let me do something to bring this back. Now, when I say children of the family, I'm not talking of just little children. I'm talking of each one of us. We are all children of our respective families. So when these rules have been broken knowingly, unknowingly, unconsciously, the younger generation, the children of the family tend to overcompensate. And they will overcompensate in the way that the person who is being judged, the person who has been excluded, they try to bring back the energy of that person back into the energy field. And to your absolute surprise and sometimes horror, you'll realize that the person that you have judged, the person that you're not happy with, the exact attributes of that person is now brought back into the system by somebody who is younger. And that is what we call as blocks, patterns. In constellation language, we call this entanglements, which means I am the young member of this family, of this system, of this organization, and I see unconsciously, none of this is conscious, by the way. Nobody consciously wants to bring anything which doesn't serve them. But unconsciously, I get entangled to that member of the family or the system who has been excluded, and I try to bring it back. And as a result, what I see, I have no money in my life. I am falling behind in the rat race at office. I have physical issues, sickness, diseases. I can't find a partner. I have a partner, but there's problem in my relationships. I'm overworked, I'm stressed. These presenting issues or these problems in constellation language is what we call as entanglements. So unless, coming back to the topic of today, unless we look back or look up actually into our lineage, into the systems that we belong and the lineage of each system, we do not understand how that past is now affecting today, me in the present, which means this is going to affect my future, because what I choose consciously today, the choices I make today is actually going to lead me to one of the different realities in my future. So unless I turn myself consciously and break these entanglements, I am not yet free to live the life, the future that I want. And the breaking of these entanglements is what we call the modality of family constellations or systemic constellations. What could be the entanglements? This is purely from my own experience of the workshops that I conduct every month. In case there are painful family situations that you're struggling with, do you find it difficult to attract money? Are you struggling to get ahead in your careers? Do you keep attracting the same kind of partners? Do you sense there's an abundance block at every moment in your life? Do you find it difficult to find love? I can go on. The list is unending. These are typically entanglements with somebody up in the system that is either excluded or not acknowledged, or maybe not even known that that person exists in some form or the other. So these are your entanglements. Before I go into how it works, let me give you a few examples of how this come about. So I had a client recently. She came saying that, everything in my life is blocked. It's just not one area of my life. It's almost like I am lifeless. I try to go ahead in my career, block. I earn money, something happens, my money is gone. One partner, next partner, third partner, I'm just not being able to settle down in a stable relationship. So her problem was not in one area, but her problem was in approximately every area of her life. So when we set up the constellations, and I'll explain how we set it up, we set up with elements. So we set up, in this case, the client herself, her life that she wants, a future beautiful life, abundant life, and that unknown factor, that X factor or the block, which is not allowing her to reach to that future life, because she's resourceful, she's educated, she's well settled in a financial or in a career perspective, but nothing seems to work for her. What constellation shows is that when she's not the only child, what she thought she was, when her mom was pregnant with her, there was another soul in the womb. So which means she was, when she was conceived, it was a twin pregnancy. And for whatever reason, the twin did not make it. This is what we call as the vanishing twin syndrome. 1 out of 3 pregnancies start as multiple embryos. And even before, the lady can go for the first doctor's checkup, first pregnancy test, which is like approximately at 3 months' time. Some embryos don't make it. They do not grow any longer. But that doesn't mean that they were not there. So we kind of have a miscarriage already, even without knowing it. And this client of mine, she was entangled with this unborn child, an unborn child who was not even known to have existed, because there was no way even the parents could know it. And in this case particularly, what the issue was, it's what we call as the survivor's guilt. It's like, I made it. We were 2 of us. You didn't make it. I made it. And I'm so guilty about it. Like, how can I live my life to the fullest? How can I have all the happiness in my life? Though I'm very capable, I rather follow you, my sibling, because I'm loyal to you. So all the entanglements that you see are not out of any bad emotion, out of any judgment. Entanglements are actually out of love and loyalty. The only point is this love and this loyalty is hidden. It is unconscious. Because at the level of the soul, we know I had another sibling. At the level of the mind, we may not. Certainly not at the level of the conscious mind. Maybe at the level of the subconscious mind, we know, but certainly not consciously. But because unconsciously we know, at the level of the soul, we know, we get entangled to people who are no longer in the system. So this was an example of a missing sibling. I've seen cases where the relationship between partners, between married couple, there are issues, and what comes about is the block turns out to be a miscarried child. It could even be an abortion. Adoptions also play a very, very important role, because if there's an adopted child in the family, or if there's a child who is given away for adoption from the family, this child has a set of adoptive parents, and this child also has a set of biological parents, which means the child first belongs to the system of the biological parents, and then the child belongs to the system of the adoptive parents. And if this is not very clear, and if adoptive children do not know that they're adopted, many a times there are again these entanglements or these issues that sometimes come up. There could be issues with, I'm just thinking what other examples I can share with you. I had a client with, it was a physical issue of cholesterol, a very high level of cholesterol. And when the constellation played out, so the examples I gave you are more or less of the first law being not followed, the need to belong. Now, if I move away from the need to hierarchy, the need of order. So this client's issue was, again, as I said, cholesterol. But when the constellation was played out, what comes up is he's lost his father at a very early age. Father died of an heart attack. And because he felt very helpless as a child, again, father is missing. I step out, I step into that role. So now I have to support my mom. I have to support my family unconsciously, though I am small. So the entanglement is with the missing father. And because I am entangled there, I am not looking at my life. I'm not looking at money. I'm not looking at my girlfriend. I'm not looking at my job. And there is stress, and there is, as we say, cholesterol. Again, if you look at it purely from a medical point of view, hereditary, but there are always, even with physical issues, you will see many times it comes through these some kind of an entanglement somewhere. Very interestingly, sometimes they are completely structural. So they may not be with family members. It could be with, for example, a property, a house, a piece of land. And many a times we have seen that if, say, the land or the property or the house or the money belonged to belonged to father, and after father's death, now this property ideally should be distributed amongst, say, two brothers or sisters that there are. But if that generation had again a missing sibling, which means ideally somebody else's loss has become somebody's gain. And many a times, if that party is not recognized, then again, these are disputed properties that cannot be sold. These are locked up money that is there, but I cannot access it. So there is no end to it. If we have time at the end during the question answers, if you have specific questions about any areas, let me know. I think I will have 200 examples to give you because it doesn't follow a pattern. It could be anything and everything. It's just open completely to wherever the entanglement is. Most interesting part, how does it work? So you could be doing constellations as a group, or you could be doing it one-on-one. The result of both is the same. So whether you do a one-on-one session with your facilitator or you do it in a group, the final result, the impact of it will not be different. What is going to be very different is the experience that you have and that you carry. And there is no substitute of a group constellation. Because in a group constellation, we have the luxury of not participating in our own constellation because there are others in the group. So how does it happen? Imagine it's generally when I do the workshops, it's a maximum of 10 people. And imagine we have a full room, 10 people, the space in between us. So we are sitting in a circle and the space between us is free. Client will come. So one of you will come and sit with me and tell me what is the issue that you want to work on. Now you could do it in front of everybody else, or if you want as what we call as the blind constellation, and you're not very, say, comfortable sharing it in an open space, we could do it privately. We could go out, we could discuss the issue, and then we come back. Now, say, for example, the issue is I cannot, money never comes to me. So in that case, there's always a short case taking, very short case taking. We just take facts, we don't take stories. And with those facts, I may at that point of time tell client that now from the 9 other people who are sitting here, who are complete strangers to you, they don't know you, you don't know them, please pick 3 people of your choice, 1 person for yourself, 1 person for the money that you want to flow, and one person for the block that doesn't allow that money to come to you. And all you have to do as a client is to go and choose those people, take their permission and bring them. And then we place them in the morphogenetic field, in the knowing field, which is nothing but the empty space that we have in the room. So client will place these people in a random way, as you can see in the picture here. And from there on, the role of the client is over. The only role the client now has is observer's role. So he or she will now sit and watch these elements or these people who are now playing the part. Now, when I say they're playing the part, they don't have written scripts with them. They do not do role play. They will stand in that position, and with client's permission, because we are doing it for client, sorry, they will tap into the energy field. This is what we were calling as the knowing field. And to your surprise, you will see how not only effective, but how like pinpoint to the point, how well each one of us can channel. So sometimes, you know, when somebody is representing client's father and client's father has arthritis in his right knee, the rep who is actually representing the father will also probably feel a pain in their right knees. And then we observe. Of course, that is the first part, what you see on the slide as diagnostics. It gives me as a facilitator an understanding of the inner image of what's happening in that system. And then this constellation will start to move, and they will move depending on how they feel. As a facilitator, if required, I introduce more people and more elements into the field. Sometimes there are words, there are statements, what we call as truth statements. They need to be spoken. And finally, the energy will settle down, which means the people in the field will take positions where now they are finally comfortable. And that is what we call as the resolution of the constellation. This resolution cannot be forced. And there are times when it shows, constellation may show that the resolution will take a little more time. Sometimes there is no resolution, in the sense it is what it is. Now, the beauty is client has no part in it, which means there's no conscious bias of the client which comes into it. And it is absolutely magical to watch how each one of us, with the intent of not knowing anything, when we step into the field, we are able to channel to the T perfectly what is happening in client's family. This could be done for office purposes as well. So we do a lot of work with offices, with corporates, what's happening in your team. And sometimes you wouldn't even have the information available to you. For example, if there's been a murder 5 generations ahead of you, you may not have that information that, okay, my great-grandfather's grandfather was murdered. But that information will also show up in the matrix. You can do the same thing one-on-one. So because in that case, it's me and you, facilitator and client. We can use, as you see, figurines, we can use bottles, we can use crystals, we can use stones, we can use pillows, chairs, paper, and it can be done on the table or it can be done on the floor. Whichever way you choose to explore family constellations, as I explained earlier, the results are going to be the same, but the experience is absolutely mind-blowing. So again, completely my personal view and my recommendation that if you haven't done it, and whichever part of the world you are in, whoever is doing, if you find a family constellation facilitator, please at least once in your life go and experience it. It is worth at least once experiencing this absolute fabulous modality. Is constellations for you? How do you choose whether this is for me or not? And this is not moving. Give me a moment. Yeah, it is again, if you feel that you are struggling with an issue, there's a consistent issue in your life that no matter what you do still persists, then it's definitely worth doing a constellation. If there is a family member that you love, but you just can't get along, no matter what happens and how hard you try to be nice to your mom, there's always this energy of conflict. No matter how hard I try to be okay with my father, but the moment I see him, I just want to burst. And if you have tried other modalities and still you see that this is persisting. Now, this is not to say that the other modalities are not good. Each modality has its importance. But if, for example, if it has not served you yet, then definitely please try family constellations. That's how I came into it for my daughter. That was precisely my introduction into family constellations. My daughter had bilateral pneumonia. Every 2-3 months we used to be in the hospital, and it was a pure physical condition. And when I worked with constellations, that was like, and I still remember after my constellation, that was the last time she felt sick. And it was like she had a rash, and I could actually see the release of that held up entanglement or energy in her physical body. And touch wood, from there on till to date, she's had small things here and there, but we haven't gone back to ever that phase of constantly worrying about, life and death and bilateral pneumonia, and there is like water retention and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you ask me, I can go on for 2 more hours talking about this modality. What is needed for this to work? There needs to be urgency on part of the client. This is not a space of, oh, let me see, I'm just curious. Let's see if this works. This is not a place of talk, of, I don't know, there needs to be a burning desire. The higher your desire to solve it, the faster this works. There needs to be a need to change. Like, what I'm going through now cannot go on forever. I need a change in my life. And then finally, and very important, the openness to take in the last resolution picture. Because sometimes, not sometimes, many times, clients can get very triggered when you expected something out of the constellation, but constellation will show what it is. And yeah, it can be difficult, and it's not important that you have to integrate it at that point, but being open to that picture is the crux of it. And you can take a little bit of time to integrate that into your psyche. And that's about it, what I wanted to speak about. Any questions? Let me know. There's something on the chat, Zara. The moment you realize that not only you know what it is, but you had also experienced it a couple of times, it's an amazing modality. Yes, it is. It is totally a mind-blowing and an amazing modality. Luana, as a parent, is there anything one could do to preempt their children in becoming entangled or blocked? Yes, Luana, I know as a mother, when I did this, I'm like, okay, now I know this. Now, what else can I do that my children don't get entangled? Yes and no. The yes part of it is they should know. So, for example, in families where there's been a loss of a child, they need to know that they are just not the, say, for example, again, the same example, the 2 children in the family, because the child needs to know that there was another child who did not make it. That information is very important. And in the moment the living child has that information, they no longer get entangled to their siblings who did not make it. Now, when I say information as a parent, I'm not saying that you have to sit your child down and you have to talk in details of what happened, just the facts. The fact that there was another child that mama conceived, but that child did not make it. Fate, call it destiny. So in this case, you are not the first child of the family. There was somebody before, and that is a huge change and a shift for all of us. Like if I know that I'm the first child of my parent, and now understanding that I'm not the first, my mom had a miscarriage before, which makes me number 2 and which makes my brother number 3. So what remains in the unconscious will always may come back, and we can get entangled with it. But what comes to our consciousness we cannot be entangled with that. So the more we bring back, one is, I'm thinking aloud on your question is, in case there are miscarried children, stillborn children, abortions, they need to know. Anyone who is excluded from the family, any long distant uncle that we don't stay in touch with because he had addictions and he had major issues in life. So anything that becomes hidden, that gets chopped off the family tree, those are the things the children of the family should know. If they know, and knowing is just fact. If they know that they had an uncle who's not there anymore, that's good enough. That's how you preempt and you prevent entanglements. And if you have a doubt, you can always do a constellation and check if you feel that you or your children, if there is any entanglement. Constellation will always show. Yes, half siblings also are in the same system, 100%. So thank you for that question. It is just not our parents. If our parents are partners, but our parents could have had other partners before or after. So half children, step children, half siblings, step siblings, all included. All included. So it could impact 100%. Someone's mic is on. Can we just mute? Thank you. Yes, Luana, it is very interesting. So when you just precisely talk of family constellations, it is our family of origin, which is us, our siblings, the generation of our parents, our ex-partners or current partners of our parents, if they are still not together, like the biological parents, it's their siblings. So your parents' siblings as well, and your grandparents, that's the immediate family. Also the current family, so your spouse, your children, ex-partners of spouses, very, very interesting. I had a client recently and her entanglement was with the first wife, ex-wife of her husband. And she's not even met that lady. And that's where the entanglement is. And then it could be anyone else, as you say, if you go broader into your country, as I said, structurally, that may play a game. I remember a constellation of one of my clients who had an judgment, an exclusion of the country she belongs to, where she's born. She, in her words, is like, I hate that country because it's not given me anything and I just don't want to think about that. But hey, guess what? We belong there. So though the subjective experience can be different, I may have a different passport. So nationalities, where you're born, your ethnicity vis-a-vis the actual passport that you carry may not be the same. And there are sometimes in families where, children are born at different times in different countries and have different passports, which means imagine what this does to belonging. So I can be an Indian, I come from Indian parents, but I could have been born in America and I have an American passport, and my brother could have been born somewhere else and could have some other passport. So which system do I belong to? The best way, Luana, to not get entangled is to be inclusive in our thoughts. We may love someone, we may not like someone, but I'm not saying you have to go around and include everyone. Inclusion means acceptance of who they are, what countries are, what a religion is, what a community is, how my family is, good or bad. So it's if you live in the spirit of inclusion and gratitude towards wherever we come from, then the chances of being entangled are way, way less. Shirin, for family constellation workshop in a group, all people concerned with blocks have to be present? No one has to be present. Thank you for asking this question. In fact, a constellation can be done remotely. So for example, say you are in Abu Dhabi and you cannot come for the workshop in JLT, but if you give permission, your facilitator can use the group, that is, or can be done on one-on-one as well. Your own physical presence is not also required. So forget anybody else in the family. In family constellations, you are the only person probably of the family who will participate. But when you do, and when you do your constellation, the healing is just not for you. The healing spreads, it's energy, right? So when something changes in me, that energetic change also changes things in my system, in my family. So you don't need anybody else's presence. You just need your presence if you want. And for mothers in the group and parents in the group, If your child is below 18 years of age, you could do it on behalf of your child, but we cannot do constellation on behalf of another family member who is an adult. So if that's the case, Shirin, then that person needs to come. But say, for example, when you do constellation for, you are the participant, it will affect your husband, it will affect your child as well. So the healing spreads in all directions. And I'm talking to Shirin, but Shirin was not in the group, I just realized. Shirin, did you hear what I said, how I answered the question? If not, let me know. I'm here. I know we are over time, but I will be around to answer questions if there are any. Well, there is a forthcoming workshop that's coming up on the 1st of May, but this workshop is completely booked. So if any of you are interested in attending, I may have to open an additional workshop. So you can get in touch with me, and if we have a requisite number, say at least between 6 and 8 people, maximum is 10, then I can do another one sometime in May. And yeah, there we are. So I'm just going to now stop sharing and check if there's any other questions in the chat. So Shirin, if you have come back just now, if you weren't there when I was answering your question, let me know. And if anybody else has any question, just let me know. You can unmute yourself or you can type in the chat box. Shirin. Okay, Shirin, did you hear what I answered your question about? You didn't hear me before. Okay, no worries. So your question was that for family constellation workshop in a group, all people concerned with the blocks have to be present. No, no one needs to be present. So it's not that, say, for example, if you're doing it for your own family, it doesn't mean that your husband, your child, your mother, your father, everybody needs to be there. Nobody needs to be there. Just you being there, you watch the constellation, you integrate the constellation, the healing happens for the entire system. It is just not for you. So and most of the time, other members of the family are never present. Imagine ancestors who are not alive. How can they be even present on Earth? Leave aside in our constellation. So physical presence is not required. You could just do it by yourself. Thank you, Zara. I'm glad you liked it. Welcome, Shirin. Welcome. Thanks, Irina. Thank you so much. And as I said, I will be here for a couple of minutes more. If you have questions, please let me know. You can unmute. If not, then have a wonderful evening. And thank you once again for joining me today. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Madeline and Shireen. And who else? Luana. Thanks so much. Thanks, Sonia. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Neha, and thank you, Kanchan. You're always there in my webinars. Thank you, Valentina. Thanks, Komal. Okay, then I don't think there are any more questions. So I'm going to log out now. Thank you so much for being here with me and have a lovely evening. Bye.